In the autumn of 1980, a struggling dairy farmer named Verna Ashgrove did something nobody in Larkspur Hollow could understand. She sold Marigold, her finest cow, the best producer on her land, and the last piece of breeding stock that could have saved her farm, to help a 7-year-old orphan that nobody else wanted. People said she'd lost her mind. They said she was throwing away her future for a child who would forget her by the next winter. Verna never expected to see that little girl again. 31 years later, on a quiet Tuesday morning, Verna heard something she hadn't heard in decades. The low rumble of engines, dozens of them, coming up the gravel road toward her gate. 40 pickup trucks were about to arrive at her farm, and what was inside them would change everything she had left. If you believe one act of kindness can echo for a lifetime, subscribe to the channel. Before we begin, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to welcome you into our family. Verna Ashgrove was 52 that autumn, a widow with sun-cracked hands and a voice softened by years of singing to cattle in the early morning fog. Her husband Walter had passed 6 years earlier, leaving her the dairy farm his grandfather had cleared from the hillside. It was modest. 40 acres of pasture, a leaning red barn, and a small herd of Jersey cows that had been bred, generation after generation, for the same quality, gentle temperament and rich, golden milk. But that year everything seemed to be working against her. Milk prices had dropped for the 3rd year running. The cost of feed had nearly doubled. Her old tractor needed a transmission it could no longer afford, and the bank had sent 2 letters she hadn't opened yet. What kept Verna afloat, more than anything, was her breeding line. Years ago, Walter had taught her something most people never think about. A farm's future isn't decided by this season's harvest. It's decided by the animals you choose to keep. You don't sell your best breeder when times are hard, he used to say. You sell her especially when times are hard, if it means you're trading her for something worth more. Verna hadn't understood what he meant back then. She would soon. The girl appeared on a Thursday, standing at the edge of Verna's lane in a thin jacket, clutching a backpack with a torn zipper and a stuffed rabbit missing one ear. Her name was Romy Calloway. She was 7 years old. Romy's parents had died in a highway accident 8 months earlier. Since then, she'd been shuffled between an aunt who didn't want the extra mouth to feed and a county group home 2 towns over. She'd walked nearly 3 miles that morning after a fight with her aunt, with nowhere in particular to go. Verna found her sitting on an overturned feed bucket near the barn, shivering, watching the cows with wide, hungry eyes. Something about the girl's stillness, the way she didn't cry, didn't ask for anything, just watched, reminded Verna of herself at that age, after her own mother had died. Verna brought her inside, made her a plate of eggs and toast, and that night called the county to ask what it would take to become Romy's foster placement. The paperwork took weeks, but Romy stayed. She learned to fill the water troughs before sunrise, to weed the vegetable garden, to coil rope properly so it wouldn't tangle. At first she did chores silently, almost afraid that doing them wrong would send her away again. Then one evening, a newborn calf came out breech, struggling to stand. While Verna worked to steady it, Romy knelt in the straw beside the trembling animal, whispering to it, rubbing its damp neck until it found its legs. From that day on, something in her changed. She started asking questions: why a cow's ears showed when it was sick, why some calves nursed easily and others didn't. Verna began letting her help with the sick animals, and slowly, without either of them announcing it, the farmhouse stopped feeling so empty. By spring, the bank's letters could no longer be ignored. Verna owed more than the farm could earn in 2 years. At the same time, the county caseworker delivered different news. Romy had been accepted into a residential agricultural academy 3 states away, a place with real teachers, stable meals, and a future. But the placement fee was due within a month, and Verna had nothing left to give, except Marigold. Marigold was Verna's prize Jersey, the calmest, healthiest cow in the herd, and the mother of 3 daughters now also producing milk. A good breeding cow doesn't just feed a farm for a season. Her bloodline shapes the quality of every calf born from her line for years afterward. Selling Marigold meant giving up the foundation Verna's herd was built on. She sold her anyway. When word got around Larkspur Hollow, the reaction was swift. She gave away her best cow for a stranger's kid, one neighbor said at the feed store. That farm won't last another 2 years. Verna heard it all and said nothing. She drove Romy to the academy herself, helped her carry her one suitcase to the dormitory, and told her, "You don't owe me anything. Just don't waste it." Life at the academy wasn't easy. Romy was the only student there without a family to call on weekends, and some of the older girls made sure she felt it. She struggled in her first year, failing a science exam so badly she considered running away and finding work on a ranch instead. It was a teacher named Mr. Otis Bramble, who taught animal husbandry, who pulled her aside after that exam. He'd noticed how she handled the school's livestock, patient, observant, never rough. "You don't fail at this," he told her. "You just haven't been taught the words for what you already know." He spent his lunch hours tutoring her, and slowly Romy's grades climbed. She earned a scholarship to study veterinary science. Years of late nights, part-time jobs cleaning kennels, and exams that nearly broke her followed. But every time she doubted herself, she thought of a quiet farm, a calf in the straw, and a woman who never once asked her to be grateful. Romy became a large animal veterinarian, eventually running her own practice, and later, a regional veterinary cooperative serving dozens of small farms. 31 years passed. Verna was 83 now, still living on the same 40 acres, though the herd had shrunk to a handful of aging cows. A 3-year drought had scorched the pastures. Feed prices had soared again. The barn roof leaked in 2 places, and the bank, a different bank now, but the same kind of letters, had begun calling about the mortgage Verna had taken out to keep the farm running after Walter died. Verna hadn't heard from Romy in years, not because Romy forgot, but because life had carried her far away, and Verna, never one to ask for anything, never let her know how bad things had gotten. Then came that Tuesday morning and the sound of engines. Verna stepped onto her porch, heart sinking. The bank's finally sending someone for the equipment, she thought. Down the gravel road, one pickup truck appeared, then another, then a dozen, then more, kicking up dust that rose like smoke over the hollow. Neighbors came out of their houses, drawn by the noise. Rumors spread fast. Some said it was a film crew, others whispered it might be a foreclosure crew with movers. Verna gripped the porch railing, bracing herself. The trucks rolled to a stop along the lane, dozens of them, each pulling a livestock trailer. A woman stepped out of the lead truck, silver-streaked hair, a weathered jacket, and a face Verna hadn't seen in 3 decades but recognized instantly. "Romy?" Verna's voice cracked. "I told you I'd come back," Romy said, walking up the path. "I just took the long way." They held each other on that porch for a long time, neither one saying much. Some moments don't need narration. What followed unfolded over the next several hours, each surprise larger than the last. The first trucks carried lumber, roofing materials, and a crew of volunteers who began repairing the barn before noon. The second wave brought a new tractor, paid in full, keys handed directly to Verna. Then came an envelope from Romy's cooperative. The farm's mortgage cleared entirely, the debt erased in a single signature. But the biggest surprise rolled in last, a single trailer, its ramp lowered to reveal 3 young Jersey heifers, each tagged with a name Verna recognized from the old herd book. They were descendants of Marigold's bloodline, tracked down and repurchased over the years by Romy, one calf at a time, until she'd quietly rebuilt the very lineage Verna had once given away. And then Romy unveiled the last gift, a sign for the front gate, reading the Marigold Legacy Youth Agricultural Center, a training program funded permanently for foster children to learn farming and veterinary skills right there on Verna's land. In the years that followed, dozens of children passed through that center, kids who, like Romy once had, arrived with nothing but a backpack and uncertain futures. Some became farmers, some became veterinarians, like Romy. All of them learned, the same way she had, that a farm teaches more than how to grow things. The Japanese farmer and philosopher Masanobu Fukuoka once wrote that the ultimate goal of farming is not the growing of crops, but the cultivation of human beings. Verna had never read those words, but she'd lived them. One calf, one chore, one quiet act of trust at a time, and in Romy that cultivation had borne a harvest far larger than any single farm could hold. Kindness, it turns out, is not an expense, it's an investment, one that often takes decades to mature and pays back in ways we never see coming. Verna gave up her best cow with no promise of return, and in doing so, planted something that would feed a whole community 31 years later. The greatest harvest any of us will ever raise isn't measured in bushels or cattle. It's measured in the people we helped along the way and what they choose to grow because of it. If this story moved you, share it with someone who could use a little hope today. And remember, the smallest sacrifice, made with love, can outlive us all.